Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Brian Craig, and, well, this is where MAGA comes to talk. This is the most pro-Trump channel on YouTube. I'm the most pro-Trump person you'll find anywhere else. I am MAGA for life, and this Benedict Arnold, my governor, I'm a Floridian, Ron DeSantis, has really just been a disaster, which is a good thing, right? We want him to be a disaster because he is challenging Trump, and things have been very bad from the get-go, and now we got this new development. Of course, we started with the disaster of the Twitter Spaces with Ron DeSantis' launch, and now this leaked audio has come out of a DeSantis donor meeting. I'm going to play you the audio in just a moment. I'll read through this article, and this really tells you everything you need to know about Ron DeSantis. He's being led around by the nose by these donors, which is what the MAGA movement is about stopping. You know, part of making America great again, President Trump's great message and his great agenda, a big part of it is taking the country back from the donors. And Ron DeSantis is owned by the donors, as you'll hear in this audio. All right, let me read through this article, and then we'll get to the audio. This is amazing, and it's shocking. And here we go. Leaked DeSantis camp audio moved to the middle after the primary and Clinton's approach on abortion. You're going to hear this. Now, this is the way things used to be. You know, very, very long ago, before President Trump came down the escalator, candidates would, in a primary, cater their message to their extreme base. If it's a liberal, a Democrat running, they'll cater their message to the liberal lunatic fringe. A conservative, they'll go to the most conservative. And then after the primaries, they both want to become moderate, be in the middle to reach these undecided soccer moms that these Karl Rove types are all talking about. So that's what that means, move to the middle after the primary, which is completely the opposite of what DeSantis is doing with different things he's doing here in the state of Florida. But let me go through this. Leaked audio has emerged from the DeSantis donor strategy meeting in Miami on Thursday, which is the day of the Twitter Spaces disaster. In the clip, which you will hear, Ron DeSantis' strategist tells high-dollar donors making calls for the campaign that DeSantis' position is keeping abortion decisions at a state level, which is President Trump's position. And by the way, keeping abortion at the state level is President Trump's position and has been the Republican position since Roe v. Wade was ruled on by the Supreme Court way back in 1973. It was always, Roe v. Wade took control away from the states on abortion. And that's been the Republican platform way back since, Reagan. That the governor will shift to the middle during the general election. That's if he were to win the primary, which is impossible since he is 28 points behind President Trump in Florida. If he can't win the state that he is the sitting governor of, he's in big trouble. But anyway, the campaign's position on abortion can be described as safe, legal, and rare in Florida, which is what Bill Clinton's position was when he was running for president way back in the day. During the session, the host, including DeSantis pollster Ryan Tyson, amongst others, can be heard launching this a major step forward for the Republican Party and moving to the middle on abortion. There are a number of times throughout the leaked audio that Ron DeSantis' strategist can be heard telling wealthy donors, you have to win a primary before you win a general, which is political campaign speak for we'll move to the middle after we win the nomination. President Trump, he's the same from beginning to end, okay? And I don't see any strategist sessions of donors deciding how to spin what Donald Trump is going to do, because there's no spin when it comes to President Trump. In response, DeSantis supporters originally denied the existence of the audio, then claimed it never provided the quotes that can be heard in full, which you will hear. Eventually, their claim came to rest on a straw man argument that Ryan Tyson didn't make the comments, but that an unnamed donor in the room did. Tyson was not directly quoted as the source of all the comments in the audio. The full audio is here. The parts on abortion begin at 27 minutes in and run until 39 minutes. So I'm going to start it there,
question here. The comment is,
Give me a second here to cue it up. I had it queued up, but I lost it. So I got
20 conservative media outlets. That's just as a technical, we're kind of focusing on the pool of the eligible, but.
Okay, here we go. We are about 15 to 17 seconds away from the abortion talk. And, you know, this is as you can tell, secretly recorded audio, which means that President Trump has some MAGA agents inside this group that are, well, they're recording things and letting us know what's going on. So we're about 15 to 17 seconds away to the abortion. You'll hear it brought up, and then you'll hear the guy running the meeting talking to these big, wealthy, rich guy donors what to say and how to spend things.
There was a hand over here. Yes, sir.
I was going to add your comments about the Twitter, that controversy is good.
Yes.
So all news about that, that's great. We dominated the news coverage. Second, it's going to be there. We can watch online. It's going to be great.
Here we go. It's next.
Third, it associates the governor with Elon Musk, who's a hero on the right, and all the free speech reiterates that. It couldn't have gone better for the campaign having a break last time. I mean, so all the news is just going to smile at it, it's going to go by, none of that. What matters is that kind of coverage, and everything is so.
We agree. We like you. We agree. Robbie, you have your hand up. Yes, sir.
Talk a little bit about the abortion issue. My Republican friends who have daughters and wives are upset. I'm not completely disagreeing. We need talking points to.
Sure.
Okay, so the donor is asking the guy facilitating. I know the audio isn't stereophonic sound, but this is secretly recorded audio, right? He's asking for talking points on how to respond to DeSantis' abortion position. Talking points? Do you know any MAGA people that ask for talking points? That's what Democrats do.
I was asking about the abortion issue. For those of you who've been through Tallahassee, you know that I can talk about this for a while to give you some time. The first things first is last night I feel like you heard the governor on Trey Gowdy's show articulate the best position for a Republican in this country today on abortion, defending his position. If you did not hear that, you need to go back and you need to listen to it tonight. His position is, while he understands that there are ways that the federal government can be helpful to preserve life, the best way that you can preserve life is at the state level. He worries that if the federal government starts getting involved in it with abortion, and it's actually going to open up the door for Democrats to roll back pro-life reforms in many of the states across this country. So I felt he did a really good job articulating that point last night. If your question, though, if I understand it, in the primary, we're right where we need to be on that issue. If your concern is in the general election, what I would argue to you is this, and I'm sure I'll have no shortage of folks that disagree with me on this tape, but please trust me when I tell you this, it comes from empirical data and from qualitative feedback. If you are a voter in 2024, as we likely are in a historic recession, and you are choosing between a young candidate, Ron DeSantis, versus an octogenarian, and if you are voting on the issue of abortion as one of the top two issues for determining your vote for president, I would offer to you that our data suggests that that person has a very high correlation with typical Democrat voting behavior. That's my answer to your question. The governor is going to, he said what his position is on abortion. I would also say to you that Democrats are going to message on abortion regardless of what your position is. That's what they're going to say. And what we found in the general elections in 2022 is that it's a kill shot if you're a piss-poor candidate and you're getting hit on abortion issues. But what the 2022 general election also proved is that if you're a good candidate, you can survive that. Look no further than Governor Kemp in Georgia. Signs a heartbeat bill right before the primary. He waxes Stacey Abrams by 7 points or even more. It was closer to 10. Same thing happened out of Ohio. DeWine dramatically overperformed. The governor signed the bill that he did in Florida, took $30 million of persuasion ads in this state, and smoked Charlie Crist by 19 points. So that's my argument to you. I feel like we got to go where the runners go, not where he is. I feel like in the general election, the issues that people are moving on, that actually are moving on, I think we're on estimate. Whoa.
Tyson, you have a question.
Thank you, Sam.
Really great, fellas. Thank you very much. I want to talk about the opposite of Walt Disney World, because we're hearing over and over again is Governor DeSantis is being cast as being vindictive in Disney World. He was mayor there, I believe, so there's a wonderful storyline that can come out of this. But please offer us some talking points on how we deal with that as a raised line.
Sure. So the governor articulated very well last night when he was asked about Disney. The first piece of context I want to make sure that you understand is this. In the state of Iowa, amongst likely caucus voters, Disney has a 67% unfavorable view, of which 54% have a strongly unfavorable view. Those numbers hold across the entire country with primary voters. I want to be very clear about this point. The disconnect from the ruling class and their view of Disney and the voters, the primary voters, and their view of Disney could not be wider at this point. It's a chasm. Why is that? It's because average voters that are on the ground, parents, they're seeing the trash that their kids get through Disney Plus, through the media and whatnot, and they're over it. The reason all of this went down is because they overstepped, and they thought it was appropriate for kids to see sexualized content. The governor will never back down from his position that parental rights matter. He's going to shift the debate right back there, and I'll tell you another thing too. When you talk to primary voters across the country, they're verbatim. They come out and say that they're glad that he's fighting corporations such as Disney. And by the way, look no further on that point to what's going on right now with Bud Light and with Target. I'm telling y'all, the governor's totally retarded on this stuff. He's where he needs to be, and he will be vindicated by the voters. I promise you that. Yes, sir.
Quick question on the delegate map. So I appreciate the data there. Warren gave out a little bit. He went to the first 4 states, but Trump's getting some of these delegates along the way. They're not all going to take all. Is your theory he steps aside? How do things come out after Super Tuesday? Ron's got 60%, Trump's got 40%. What are your expectations there and how it all plays out?
Very similar to that question. If we win all first 4 states, DeSantis is going to be the Republican nominee president. Yes. This is not even close. The delegate math game, a bigger answer to your question. The delegate math game is like this media fascination, right, of this, because nothing in the media would love more than a broker convention, right, where like you go in, we would know who the nominee was. The odds of that happening are very, very small. We believe this to be a 2-horse race. We have 2 horse races. The delegate math doesn't work to get to the broker convention. That being said, we're gonna build a delegate team. We're gonna chase delegates. It's a very complicated process. It's hard, right? It's gonna be very organized. We did it in 2016. So we'll build a delegate operation. We'll have delegates. We'll be ready to go in that scenario. But we think, regardless, it's probably going to be over by March 19th. And so we'll be prepared for that. We just don't think it's a very likely scenario that we're going to be playing delegate math in August in Milwaukee.
Gentlemen, in preparing for today, I spoke to a lot of people, and many of you have come and spoken with JJ and Ryan and spoken to his guys. Some people were excited that he has gone to the right, but they feared what was going to happen in the general election. And then the other half of the people I spoke to said, I liked him better 6 months ago when he was more in the middle, not to the right. Can you give me some talking points regarding those questions from potential judges? I see people nodding, so hopefully others are experiencing.
I'll just show you the answer to that instead, if you don't mind.
So your question was essentially, he wishes he would be more in the middle, essentially like that better? Is that what basically what it was? Okay, those folks live right here, and that's their cap, right there. See that? So you just described, Tom, the candidacy of Nikki Haley. That's what you just described, right? And I would offer you also described the candidacy of Asa Hutchins, right? I would, exactly. So I hear you. But you're a businessman. The math's here. Okay? Those kinds of moves, there's no math. You have no ability to grow. And you mark my words, you'll see that in the data as this goes on. Mark my words, I know what I'm talking about here. If you will, that kind of candidacy is already embodied Those are the kind of voters that look for somebody who's thoughtful, right? Who's sensitive. Those are the people that live here. And God love them. I'm glad they're in our party. I'm glad they live in our primary. They just don't have enough path.
I get all that, but we're not $100 right now. I'm just looking for some talking points to get more dollars. That's all I'm looking for.
Gotta want to be primary in order to be in general.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So,
Can I add some talking points to that? Because I think we're talking about micro-targeting on our phone calls, and we do have a approach to what we talked about in the donor class. Abortion is safe, legal in America and Florida. It is legal in Florida. It has not been banned. Most abortions occur with chemical, with Plan B, which is one, right? So when you're talking to a pro-choice donor, I don't think just sort of go by and say, look, abortion is legal in Florida, okay? It is legal in Florida in most of the situations. When people have situations of unwanted or an unprotected sex situation, they're going to use chemical abortifacient, right? So you can talk right at them and say it is legal in Florida. Now it is limited. It's limited. You have to be responsible about it. But I don't think if you're talking to a pro-choice lawyer, you sort of skip over it. You got to point out that this is a major step forward for the Republican Party in terms of moving to the middle on the abortion issue.
I'll add too, we don't have the luxury in this operation, and I wouldn't call it luxury in today's political climate. We don't tell our candidate what his principles should be. That's not how it works. Our candidate, our governor, he is who he is. And I'm merely trying to tell you all, from the data's perspective, that his principles really sell and will sell in this country. So I respect and understand that point. I totally understand how difficult that is when you're talking to a pro-choice donor. I get that. Carson, sorry, Mike's over here.
One of the things I've said for a long time is if we want a man in the White House capable of standing up to Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, we want him to be able to stand up to donor pressure on issues that are difficult. And I have actually found discussions that people appreciate that. So that's just one other thought.
If I can just ask a question that's relevant to your. Is it? All right. The talking points are key, right? I'm from New York, so I hear that stuff all the time. I got to keep working through it. The presentation that you put up there is awesome. Can you boil that down into one or two major, make it look real pretty so we can start sending it out to people to follow? Because we're going to get this all day today. Can you win the primary, right? Teflon Don. You've heard that a bunch of times. And then secondly, yeah, all right, I get it. He's conservative. He's going to win those issues in the primary, but then he's going to be too right-wing for the general. So
I have that in one picture.
That would be
I just convinced it yesterday, and I'll make sure that my next team gets it out.
Thank you.
Let's do one more, Sam.
Okay,
So what you hear, and I understand the audio is not crystal clear, but someone is with a hidden microphone is recording this, probably on their iPhone in a pocket or an iPhone in a purse or something. But the main takeaway from this secretly recorded donor meeting, and this was Thursday, the day of the Twitter Spaces announcement by Ron DeSantis, which was a disaster. It's a group of high money donors. I mean, like the big whale donors. And their entire discussion is about getting talking points to sell Ron DeSantis on liberals, how to get pro-choice people to support DeSantis, how to convince MAGA people to support DeSantis. They're all talking points. And what talking points are is a manipulation. So we have these big money donors. They're throwing a lot of money to DeSantis, okay? Throwing a lot of money to DeSantis. They're trying to find a way to convince people to support him that don't already. People like me and you and Democrats too. And it shows you a lot of things, right? You hear the intensity with these big donors. They're investing a lot of money. They want something in return, right? What will that be? I don't know what favors they're expecting from Ron DeSantis, but they're expecting something. And the entire thing shows you that the DeSantis campaign is not being run by DeSantis. I know there's some stories that are saying that DeSantis' wife is running things. The people that are running the DeSantis campaign is not Ron DeSantis. It's not his wife. It's the donors. So, the MAGA movement is about a great many things. But one of the biggest things that President Trump's campaigns have always been about is taking control of the country away from the donors. These donors, the donors are the ones that are pushing us into this war in Ukraine, right? That we have no business even being a part of because the military-industrial complex. This is huge stuff. And I'll tell you one thing I'm very excited about is that there are MAGA people that have infiltrated this movement. So there's some MAGA people that are actually big money donors to Ron DeSantis' campaign that are spending money to get inside that group so they can get the information out to President Trump and to us so we know what is going on with Ron DeSantis. And I got to tell you, Ron DeSantis, he really had us fooled, didn't he? And, he's my governor. I voted for him twice. I've been to campaign events with him. President Trump campaigned with him. I'm sure some of you watching this have seen or met Governor DeSantis. You've probably voted for him too, and you're in your MAGA. President Trump, I'm sure, voted for him. Maybe was he a resident the first time when he ran yet? I'm not sure if he was a resident of Florida during his first run. Probably didn't vote for him the last time. But look what's happened. The donors are about to take over. See, this is why President Trump is in so much trouble. There's two groups of people that have been against President Trump since he came down the escalator and went after him hardcore since he won the nomination in 2016. One is the deep state, because the deep state, they have a lot of control. And the other group are the donors. See, President Trump, these donors don't own him. What you're seeing here with this audio with Ron DeSantis, this is what it has been like for all the presidents in our lifetime before President Trump. They've all been owned and controlled by the donors. And what this meeting is about is telling people like you and me what they want to hear. How can we tell people what they want to hear so they'll back DeSantis, so that we can get our puppet in the White House? That's what all this is about. And this audio is very, very important. And I'll tell you, this is just the beginning. There's going to be more and more of this. And whoever this MAGA agent is inside this group of high-level big whale donors, believe me, they're spending the last, this has been out now for 24 hours. They've spent the last 24 hours doing a massive internal investigation trying to figure out who this person is. But you know what? I bet you there's more than one. In fact, I'm pretty positive there is. You look at the polls, okay, and I just want to end on this, on what Ron DeSantis' campaign strategy is. Ron DeSantis is double digits behind President Trump in every poll, right? Every poll around the country. By the way, President Trump's also beating Biden in all the polls. But President Trump has a double-digit lead over Ron DeSantis in all the polls. New Hampshire, Iowa, throughout the entire country. In Florida, I said at the beginning of the stream, in the most recent poll among Republicans in Florida, President Trump has a 28-point lead against Ron DeSantis. Okay? The latest bunch of polls even have Tim Scott in there and have been taken after his botched Twitter Spaces announcement, and Ron DeSantis is still double digits behind. In fact, Trump's gained even more on that. By the way, thank you so much, Don't You Fit, for that super chat. Says everyone was outraged on Zuckerberg giving money to Biden. Now we're okay with Elon and Silicon Valley running Ron. That's exactly right. So this is what DeSantis' strategy is. Why are these big whales throwing all this money at a guy who's double digits behind? Why is he out there running against someone he has no hope of? The entire strategy of the DeSantis campaign and these big whale donors, they believe that President Trump is going to be arrested. They think he's going to get charged in this documents case, and he's not going to be able to get the nomination, okay? And because of that, they think that we are going to get behind DeSantis because we're going to support him as opposed to some Democrat. Well, I got to tell you something. That's just not the case. And if you also notice in this secretly recorded audio, they're talking about what are they going to do if they take a vote in the Republican convention and Ron doesn't have the votes, and neither he nor Trump have the votes for the nomination, they're talking about how they can corral those Trump delegates to change their support for DeSantis. So they're talking about a brokered convention. They are expecting, Trump is so popular, they're expecting Trump to be able to stop Ron DeSantis. So they're already working a scheme for a brokered convention, which hasn't happened in anyone's lifetime, really. I mean, unless you're really super old. So guys, listen, if you're new to my channel, make sure that you subscribe. Click that notification bell. My name's Brian. And, of course, I put a lot of content here. I'm on the radio weekday mornings, and I live stream weekday mornings when I'm on the radio. I upload my podcast with my wife here, the Brian Craig Show podcast, on this channel. And also, I do random live streams like this whenever major news breaks. This is where MAGA comes to talk. So make sure you subscribe to my channel. Sometimes I take phone calls on my weekday live stream on the radio. I take live calls on the air from both people watching on YouTube and listening to me on the radio. So if you're new, you'll love this channel. Again, my name's Brian Craig. Thanks, everyone.